Hello everyone. So this will be the last part to the series of drawing different facial positions with minimal guidelines and almost no erasing. I have even less supplies today than in my usual video. I decided that instead of the two types of charcoal, I was just going to use this woodless charcoal pencil and this sharpener where it can hold the shavings. That way it'll make it super easy and I don't have to switch back and forth. We'll see how it goes. I have two stick erasers, the mono Tombow 2mm and the 5mm. And I have a blending stump instead of my brushes. You can use brushes if you want. I'm just going to use this blending stump today and possibly this kneaded eraser, maybe. So it will be the same start as the other ones with the two lines. But what I'd like to reiterate before we start is that the 3/4 view is a combination of a front-facing and a profile. So I was actually just talking with Watercolor by McCraw, shout out to Tema, about the combination of the profile and the front-facing view having shape patterns that combine both front and profile. So for example, the profile has a lot of inverted V's, sideways V's, you know, like the little greater than or less than sign. And the front-facing view has a lot of straight lines. So there's also going to be some curved edges because as the face turns away, opposite of foreshortening, I'm just going to make up a new word. If it's a word, let me know. It's foreshortening when something's facing away from you and it curves and it has these like cutoffs. You'll see what I'm talking about. So let's just start with putting in our two guidelines. And maybe we'll see as I go if I decide to do one that is the more extreme and one that is a little more subtle. Maybe I can just do them facing each other or something like that. So I will just start right here. And I'm just going to make my two guidelines. And if you were watching the other ones, the two guidelines, you start off across here is where you'll put your eyebrows, and across here is where you'll put the nose. So if you really need to get these exactly the same, go ahead and do that. I just kind of, you know, I'm a mess, so I do things really like inaccurately. And then I just kind of re-sculpt it all because it's charcoal, you know, as I go. Because these straight guidelines are in fact straight, you'll lose a little bit of shape when you're first starting it, but you can always sculpt that back in. And that's more evident with the profiles and with the 3/4 view than it is with any others. So depending on how much of this far shortening side of the face you're going to see, you're going to start with that eyebrow. So, you know, find your line across here. If you really need to be precise, you know, while you're starting this, you can make these equal. I'm going to try to find my little rag here so I can wipe my fingers off and maybe dust away some eraser debris. So I'm going to start off by putting half of an eyebrow here. And and that is going to go to the arch, and it's going to stop there. Because as somebody's looking at you from the side like this, you most likely are not going to see that part of their eyebrow that turns away. And you're going to put in the second eyebrow, and this one is going to be the one facing you, so you're going to draw the whole thing. And your distance between two eyebrows is relatively going to be the size of an eye, so that still stands. That's still a pretty standard measurement. And since this is from imagination, you can play around with this. If you're drawing characters, OCs, you can make your eyes really, really big or really, really small. It just stylize it how you want to, but I'm trying to go for just like standard for now. And how I've been playing around lately is by making these lines really, really long or really, really short, and then building the face from there, and just seeing the different styles of faces I can get. And I'm kind of liking these like elongated faces for whatever reason. I don't know. I like distorting the faces. So anyway, so from here, just like with our others, we will draw the connection of the nose bridge to the eyebrows. And as you bring that in, all that's really doing is telling you where you're going to put your next marks, which are the dots for your eye corners. So the furthest part inward, where that's pointing in, that's where you draw your little dots for your eye corners. Now the one that's facing farther away, you may not see that one, or it's just going to be super, super close. That's because everything we're doing on this side of the face is going to be half of what we're doing over here. If that wasn't already evident, yeah, that's what we're doing. So make your little eye corners. The arch of the brow is usually where the eye corner, the outer corner of the eye goes. So find your arch, draw another eye corner, and over here you're going to see this is how we get the shortened eye. You're going to find where that arch would be in the eyebrow, come down, that's your outer eye corner. So you see that's already giving you the measurements that you need. You can go ahead and connect these two eye corner lines. You can make this really, really straight. You can make it arched. I'm going to do it somewhere in the middle. I'm going to do it slightly curved, because that's going to be the edge of my eyelid, not the crease of my eyelid, which is going to be somewhere in here. But this is going to be the edge of my eyelid, you know, where the eyelashes come out. So equally over here, I'm going to do this. And my side is a little bit high, so I'm just going to erase it a little bit. This is probably the trickiest one to, I guess, explain. I just always did this one as default for so many years. I just kind of eyeballed it. Never always, you know, never came out always exactly how I wanted it to, but figuring out how to do measurements to have some more expected outcome with these facial positions is why I started doing this. And I'm just sharing it because I know that guidelines can be really, really hard for doing the traditional formats. You can have a million different people explain how to do the Loomis method, and essentially it's always going to be the same method. People might modify it slightly here and there, but I never found, no matter how much I worked with that and modified it, it didn't work for me. So I'm going to go ahead from here and draw a mark for the bottom of my nose, or at least across where the nose will go. I like to make just a little line and then draw like a U shape under it, because that gives the illusion of the protrusion and then where your shadow is going to go and where the nose kind of comes out. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And now I'm going to take my measurement for the chin. Excuse me, for the chin. Touch the eyebrow, touch the bottom of the nose, and make your little mark for the bottom of the chin. Sometimes I get a little exaggerative with my marks and I make them really, really wide across. And if you're drawing a more masculine face, then you can do that and get a really square chin. But I'm drawing a woman's face, so I'm going to make just a little mark. And in between the nose and the chin line is where you're going to have the parting of the mouth, the center of the mouth. I may have went a little short there, a little too close to the chin, a little too far from the nose, so I'm just gonna fix that. And if I want to figure that out, I will, just gonna have to eyeball it. Still puts me right there, but I'm gonna go a little higher because I didn't like where it landed before. Okay, now when you are drawing this side of the face, you're going to put a series of curves. This side of the face is going to be like you would be drawing the front facing view straight on. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do the whole features, and over here we're going to do half features. So I'm going to do that by starting with the nose and draw the nostril and the outer nose wing. Put a little bit of a shade there. Now I'm going to draw the Cupid's bow for the top of the lip. And the outer corner of the nose is pretty much where you're going to have the outer corner of the mouth. It's going to extend out just a bit, but generally it's lined up right there. And bottom lip, I'm going to put a little line for the highlight. And with your chin here, just like with the nose, I like to put another rounded section there, so it gives the roundness to the chin, but also the shadow underneath. So I'm going to go ahead and connect this chin with this jawline, which is the bottom of the original guideline that we put in. All these funky guidelines, which is only two, which is the whole point of doing this, are going to disappear into the hair. You can also reshape them with your eraser, but they're there to put in this, to basically guide you with the this inner rectangle, we'll just call it, of the building from the face. So now this is kind of fun and interesting. So we're going to do the outer half features here. So we'll start with the nose, just because it's kind of more straightforward. So going from the nose bridge, and just make sure you got those where you want them. You're going to come out as if you're doing a profile, but when you curve this side, it's just going to meet up with it. You're not really seeing a whole lot of that other portion of the nose. You can draw it in a little bit, make a little curve there, but you're really not going to see a whole lot of that side. Same with the mouth. sure your Cupid's bow is straight, because I have a problem with that a lot of times. I'm going to make a slight part here because I still feel like this mouth is not in the right spot, but at least the center of it. So I'm just going to do that because it gives some interest sometimes. I'm going to do a curve for the top lip and a curve for the bottom lip. And coming from what would be the outer nose wing, we're going to put a little mark here because that is the outer corner of that side of the mouth. And between these two curves here, telling you where the face is turning, this little mouth corner, you can connect those if you want. I mean, I do, because you can still see that a little bit, but it just gives an indication of where that outer corner of the mouth is. So I'm just going to shade this in slightly, the top lip. You can see way more of the side of the face that's facing you than the side that's turning away, so you can go ahead and connect these lines, and you can see how this side of the mouth is longer, and this eye and side of the nose is the full feature, whereas on this side you're only going to get half of it. So let's go ahead and put the eyes. The outer corner of this eye, you're going to have a curve, just like we did with the outer part of the nose and the outer part of the mouth. I keep saying outer part, but it's the part, you know, the half portion of the face. The side of the face that's only showing half of itself. All right. So we have a curve. Now, if this person's looking at you straight with their face curved that way, again, you're going to have a half come somewhere between, you know, halfway between the top of the eyelid. Put a mark there because that's going to be what brings your iris into the right place. And the reason we're doing this iris first is because you can tell by looking at this one where this one's going to go. When you can see well, it's a lot easier. When you can't see well and stuff's shifting all over the place, it can be a little harder. So that's why I give myself that extra little guide there. So the eye is looking, it looks like it's looking way over here, but when you go to put this iris in, if it's aligned with this one, you will know. If it's not, it'll look weird. So, you know, that's not a very technical way to figure that out or explain it, but you'll know what I mean. When you're looking at someone and their eyes are not exactly tracking straight, you can just tell. It's human nature. We just know when something's off, especially with the eyes. So if I come halfway across and draw the entire iris just like I did over there, we'll see. Does it look off? I think it's all right. It's all right for now. You can always adjust how far off you want the eye to look to the corner by either bringing the corner in or extending it out. Sometimes I have to play around with that to get the eyes in the right place. So I'm going to draw my outer corner a little darker. And I'm going to do a little eye bag underneath the, you know, the iris is what bulges the most prominently from the roundness of the eye. So that's usually where you're going to see your eye bags, shadow, whatever you want to call this, the little aiguisals, what that's called, a little bit more prominently. And so same over here. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to put that in right underneath the iris. And I'm going to put in the crease. And you know, different people have their eyebrows closer or further away from their eyelids. You know, generally speaking, it's kind of a, you know, when it's really extreme, it's a male feature. Women have it too, though. We've also got like hooded eyelids and, you know, different types of folds and things like that. So I'm just going real general here. So here's where I'm going to connect the chin and the outer far shortened part of the face. And you're going to see how close it comes to the mouth, because when you're looking at somebody who's got their face turned like that, it appears that you can't really see the whole side of their face, and so their mouth will appear closer to this edge than it will over here, especially if you're looking at a photo reference. There's that illusion of, you know, looks like the mouth is close to the edge there, but it's only because the face is turning away. So, I mean, not that I had to explain that, you guys know that. So here is where, and I'll just say real quick, you know, I'm going to go ahead and shade some of this in a little bit with my blender. But when you have extra lines or things are really, really dark around the outside edges, you can incorporate that into shadows. And you can get rid of that harsh line or that thick line just by, you know, putting some hair in and blending it into that. And then that will be part of the, it'll just kind of blend in and it won't be such a strong line. So I'm going to do a little bit of that first, and then I'm going to go around and blend some of these lines. Maybe we will kind of indicate where the ear is. We're somewhere between the nose and the top lip. I used to do it at the bottom of the nose, but I find that's just too short. I found my ears looked a little small, and I was always afraid of drawing the ears too big, so I was starting from the edge of the nose and going, but I think it's really actually more close to the top of the lip or somewhere in between the nose and the lip, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to work with that for a while and see how it goes. This is a, you know, it's an evolving process, trying to figure out what looks right, what's actually true for most people. You know, you can do your own measurements on your face and it'll surprise you. That's kind of how I came up with a lot of this measurement stuff. I was like feeling my own face going, oh wow, that lines up with that. I didn't know that. I've been drawing it wrong the whole time. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. I'm not going to do a whole lot of detail with the ear here, but I just want to put in some like folds and shadows. When somebody is looking at you from this angle, they can be, their body can be in, you know, multiple different types of positions, but this one that's looking at me this way, I don't know why, but I feel like she's got a shoulder right here, and this is her neck coming down here. So let's just do that. So that would mean that her neck is here also. And we're gonna take her beard away by putting in some hair from her head. So depending on how far over somebody's face is, you just draw this eyebrow as short as you can and then build the rest around that based on the eyebrows, because that's really going to be your best indicator. So I know I said I'm going to shade, but I need to erase something here real quick. Her iris needs to match the other one, so I'm just gonna take some of this away before I put the pupil in, just to make sure I have enough space in here to do that. So use a smaller eraser here. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and draw her iris. Lately, like I think I said in one of my other videos, I've just been drawing a circle. I'm leaving the center white because that's where I can just keep my highlight. And as long as they're both in the same general direction looking, that's been a little bit easier for me. And then you can build around that if you wanted to like make the iris, the pupil bigger and blacker, and just you've got your highlight in there already. If you end up accidentally blending over that initial first circle has been put in, so it'll be easier to erase it out. So now I'm gonna go in and shade around that pupil, put a little bit of a shadow under the eyelid, blend in the surrounding areas. And this is kind of also toning these areas too, so it's going to make a nice contrast for highlighting. And this Cupid's bow has not been straight from the get-go, so I'm going to go ahead and straighten that out. Put a little bit more shadow under where the lip is parting. Maybe she's one of those people who has a fatter top lip than lower lip. I don't know. These things, you can always adjust them and fix them as you go. But I'm going to, just like with a profile, you would see like a little connection or shadow or protrusion where the Cupid's bow and the lip, and the nose meet. So I'm just going to shade that, shade under the lip, shade the neck, kind of shade wherever it is you want to. Shade the cheeks in, cheekbones. on a profile, I will come in and connect this part over where the nose bridge goes with the, like where the cheek sticks out. I mean, with shading, you can always come in and erase it. You know, it's easier to erase. So I'm going to do it on both sides. And there will be more shading on the side where the face is turning away than there will be on the other one. And you can always come in and put your highlights in. So I'm gonna be shading just a little bit, and then I'm gonna come in and put highlights. Going to put in the rest of her hair. So let's take our measurement for the hairline. It's probably going to reach just where the top of this page is. So hairlines always grow upward, and then especially with long hair, they just fall down. And the side of her face and the top of her head, you can just do an imaginary line swoop and then make a harder line with your pencil right about where you would see the part of her head that turns away. And if this is her forehead here, part of her forehead, then unless she's got bangs, then a lot of this is going to be falling on the other side of this part of her face. And she doesn't have bangs, so we're going to drop some of this hair behind her ear. And same like we did with this side, I'm going to take the edge of her jaw and go up and around, and that's pretty much where you'll see the back of her head, or side of her head turning toward the back. I know it's not a hair tutorial, but I'm just explaining. I'm not going to spend too much time on the hair. It's, like I said, you know, because it's not really a hair tutorial, but it's very similar to the profile. Like I said, you can get really extreme. Her nose would be even closer to the outer edge, and so would her mouth if this eyebrow was even shorter and her eye was even less visible. You can play around with that. I don't want this video to be too long, so I think doing another one with a more extreme turning of the face might just be a little bit too long, but it's the same idea. And with hair, I just get kind of expressive because hair is tedious. It's one of the reasons I like charcoal, because you can get a lot, especially with the side of this pencil, this woodless charcoal pencil, or any type of woodless pencil. I love them because you can get a variation of broader strokes. And don't forget to bring down the hair that grows kind of in front of the ear from the temple, because if you don't do that, and I did not do that for a really long time, I'd never brought this part down in front of the ear, and it just looked super weird. So don't do that. Okay, so let's do a little bit more shading with the hair, and then we'll do the fun part. We'll come in with the highlights. And this is mostly finished, but But yeah, like I said, we'll come in with the highlights, and then I'll show you how to carve out more shape on the side of the face to get rid of that really flat look that our little guideline gives us, because it's such a straight line. And I'm gonna just slightly tone everything. And you guys can probably see that this is going to really like put a bunch of like uneven marks, but it's all good. It's just charcoal. You can move it around a lot. Things can look really, really dark suddenly, and then you can just either come in with your kneaded eraser and just pick some of it up, or leave it very moody and toned, and then just put your highlights in, and then so. All right, let's do that. Use both erasers, and she's kind of elongated, but that was because my lines were really like long. If I shortened them, she would be shorter. And that's kind of a tip with when you lay your paper flat, a lot of your portraits or anything you're drawing is going to be a little bit elongated, and you can get around that by putting it up, but I don't really draw on a tilted surface. I can paint on a tilted surface, but I can't draw on a tilted surface. But that's where the guidelines help a lot with that, because if I made them shorter, that would already automatically shorten my person's face, and I wouldn't have to worry about it being elongated. I didn't really mind it. I've actually kind of been liking this look lately. I don't know, I'm just into that like distorted, some like distorted portraits. There's a couple of some of my favorite artists do stuff like that, and it's intentional, and it just looks kind of neat. It's sometimes it's just a moody thing. You can see that sometimes in comics where they'll have this like really moody or intense emotional scene, and the people are, you know, their faces are all elongated and they look surprised or scared or something. And I mean, not that that's what I'm going for here as far as scared, but it's just another look, and I just kind of like it. It's just what I'm kind of into right now. So yeah, I'm just highlighting. Gonna highlight her little cheekbones, and underneath the eye bags is also the contrast of highlight. I'm going to shade her lip a little bit more, and then put the highlight in the Cupid's bow. Make sure this highlight in the eye is really bright, as bright as we can get it. I can even come back and go around that with the black to make it stand out even more. Gonna erase out the top of the eyelid. And you can come in and do more. I mean, you can work on this forever. You know, you can put some darker tones in, go around your highlights, do some more. I'm not going to keep you guys too long with the rest of this. but you get the idea. Hope this was helpful and you guys enjoyed the last part of this series. I mean, for now, this is what's working for me. I could always come back, you know, at a later time and say, hey, I figured out something else, and, you know, share that with you guys too. But for now, these guides have been working so that I can get some more variety in my portrait work, and I'm not just stuck doing the same facial position because it's easy and I know it'll turn out right. This way I can experiment with some other styles and create some, like I said, variation in my work. And with that, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.